There are moments in life when everything collapses at once. Moments so sudden and violent that they carve themselves permanently into the heart. For me, that moment came on a rain-heavy evening when my entire world seemed to drown beneath a storm. I remember running, breathless and shaking, across a cracked city sidewalk, trying to outrun the memories that chased me like shadows. My phone buzzed with messages I couldn't bear to see, my lungs burned, and my tears tasted like fear. I felt small, fragile, and completely alone. If the world had ended right then, I might not have fought it. I didn't expect anyone to be watching. I certainly didn't expect a stranger to step into my chaos and pull me back from the edges I didn't know I had reached. Before the story unfolds, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unexpected people who become miracles in our lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more heart-touching stories your way. The rain hit harder that day, drenching everything in its path. I stumbled toward the old bridge that overlooked the river, my refuge and my undoing. My heart felt like a badly stitched wound, torn open by betrayal from the person I trusted most. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was humiliation, abandonment, and a sense of invisibility that wrapped itself around me until I could barely breathe. The world blurred, the bridge lights flickered, and the roar of the river below grew louder, pulling me into its rhythm. I didn't know what I intended to do. Maybe I didn't intend anything at all. I only knew that I couldn't keep standing. My knees buckled, and I collapsed near the railing. The world dimmed around the edges, and I felt myself slipping, surrendering to the storm inside and around me. But then, through the sound of rain and rushing water, I felt a warmth, a presence, someone kneeling beside me. A stranger soaked from head to toe, breathing hard as if he had been running. He didn't try to lift me or pry words out of me. He simply shielded me from the rain with his own body, as if he had taken some unspoken vow to protect me right there. In the midst of thunder and my trembling breaths, I felt his steady hand on my shoulder. It was the first time in hours, maybe days, that I didn't feel like I was falling. I didn't know his name. I didn't know why he stopped. But I would remember the warmth of that moment for the rest of my life. He stayed with me until the rain softened. When my breath calmed and my tears dried a little, I finally looked at him. That's all I did, just look. But it felt like something cracked open inside me. There was something familiar and unfamiliar in his eyes at the same time, kindness shaped by his own scars. Without a word, he stepped back, gave me a gentle nod, and walked away through the rain. I never even asked his name. I didn't know then that fate had just drawn the first line in a story much bigger than my pain. Time passed, as it always does. Weeks blended into months. I tried to rebuild my life piece by piece, though some days I still cracked. I focused on work, routine, and pretending to be okay. The storm inside me quieted slowly, but it never fully left. Yet something about that stranger's silent presence stayed with me. It was like a lighthouse in my memory, a reminder that the world wasn't entirely cruel, that people like him existed. And sometimes, that tiny hope was enough to get me through my darkest days. Life eventually settled into its slow rhythm again. I moved to a new apartment, started making small, deliberate choices that slowly realigned my life. I went for morning walks. I cooked healthier meals. I kept a journal where I wrote tiny victories, got out of bed early today, didn't cry this week, felt a little more like myself. Healing is rarely dramatic. Sometimes it's just survival stitched together with fragile hope. 2 years later, on a bright spring afternoon, fate struck again quietly, unannounced, and with the same gentle force it used the first time. I was volunteering at a community center where I helped kids with reading and homework. It wasn't a glamorous job, but it grounded me. Being around children reminded me of innocence, honesty, and small joys, the kind we lose as adults. That day, the center held a charity event. Laughter filled the courtyard, parents chatted with volunteers, and music drifted through the air. I was pouring juice for a group of kids when I noticed someone struggling with a heavy box near the entrance. Instinctively, I went to help, and then I froze. There he was, the stranger from the bridge. Except now he wasn't drenched in rain or shadowed by storm clouds. He stood under sunlight, wearing a calm smile, looking healthier, steadier, almost glowing with a quiet strength. For a moment, I couldn't move. It felt like the world tilted, like fate had reached out and tugged at my memory with deliberate gentleness. He glanced up and our eyes met. Recognition flickered instantly. He didn't look surprised. He looked relieved, like he had been waiting for this moment without knowing it. We didn't speak, not yet, but the connection hit with a soft, overwhelming force. I felt the same warmth I had felt on the bridge, but now was wrapped in sunlight instead of rain. Over the next hour, I found out he was one of the new volunteers. He worked in a nearby tech company, had recently moved to this neighborhood, and had a quiet, warm way of blending into the background while helping everyone around him. We talked slowly, easily, as if our first meeting had carved a permanent space between us. It didn't take long before he told me the truth. He remembered everything. He remembered seeing me run that night, remembered the fear in my eyes, remembered making a split-second decision to follow me just to make sure I was safe. He didn't know what I was going through, but he said something in him refused to walk away. He stayed until he was sure I would stand again. Hearing. Those words felt like touching a healed scar, tender but strong. I didn't realize how deeply I needed closure, gratitude, and connection until that moment. We kept talking and talking and talking about life, pain, healing, passions, hopes. Our conversations weren't flashy or dramatic. They were real, pure, honest, the kind you only get with someone who sees your soul before they see your smile. Days turned into weeks, and we found ourselves meeting outside the community center, coffee shops, book fairs, long evening walks through quiet streets. It felt natural, effortless. He never asked about the full story of my past, but he gave me space to tell it in pieces when I was ready. And for the first time in a long time, sharing didn't hurt. It felt like release. He told me about his own struggles, loss, burnout, loneliness, and the moment he realized life could change if you decided to show up for it. We didn't heal each other. We healed beside each other. That was the difference. Months passed, and the space between us narrowed until it felt like the universe had quietly tied our hearts together with invisible thread. One evening, while we watched the sunset from a small hill overlooking the city, I felt something shift. The air grew heavier, softer, and my heartbeat matched the slow rhythm of the dying light. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. I just leaned my head against his shoulder, and in that quiet moment, something inside me whispered the truth. He wasn't just the stranger who saved me. He was becoming my soulmate. Our love wasn't fiery or chaotic. It was gentle, patient, and steady like rain that nurtures instead of destroys. He didn't just love the healed parts of me, he loved the broken ones too. He didn't rush my heart, he waited for it to bloom. He didn't erase my past, he held my hand as I walked beyond it. We built a life together, one soft brick at a time, shared meals, late-night talks, plans scribbled on napkins, laughter that filled the small spaces of our home. Even on days when old fears returned, he remained a quiet anchor. And on his hardest days, I became his calm. Years after our first encounter, we visited the bridge together. The river still roared the same way it did that night, but I didn't feel fear anymore. I felt gratitude. Standing there, his hand in mine, I realized how strange and powerful fate can be. One moment can change everything. One person can reroute the trajectory of your entire life without even knowing it. And sometimes, a stranger who finds you at your lowest becomes the love who lifts you to your highest. If this story touched your heart, made you believe in destiny, or reminded you of the unexpected angels in your life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps our channel bring more emotional stories to amazing viewers like you. Before you go, Comment below, do you believe strangers can become soulmates? And with that, the story of the stranger who once saved me in the rain became the story of the man who now walks beside me in the sunlight, proof that sometimes the universe doesn't shout when it changes your life. Sometimes it simply sends a stranger with kind eyes and a steady heart, and waits for you to notice.